What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Fantasy Football Game Show brought to you by Front Yard Fantasy here on Better Sports Network. I'm your host, Simon, joined as always by my co-hosts, John Luke Garofalo and Joey Wright. What's up, boys?
Nope.
What up? And guys, joining us today, we have a special guest, great friend, Bob Harris here on the show. For those of you that do not know Bob, I don't believe you. But you can find him on Twitter at Football Diehard. He is the OG Football Diehard and the senior editor at footballdiehards.com and a SiriusXM fantasy host. Bob, thank you so much for joining us today, my friend.
Thank you so much for the invite. I always appreciate coming on with you guys. Great seeing everybody this last weekend. So exciting. And you guys, are the people out there must know you're every bit as awesome in human form as you are in little square boxes on their computer machine.
Quit lying to them, Bob.
Okay. These guys are horrible. It was like the worst thing.
We all smell, and not necessarily bad, but
Just smell.
Not good.
Like
I stole Bob's wallet. So.
That's okay, though. I mean, I knew you stole it. I let you get away with it. And JL and I had a great interaction at a small Starbucks that he was trying to hide from me.
Where we entertained the entire restaurant.
He was my child. And
if you guys have ever seen the show Storage Wars, we're going to be doing something similar with Bob's wallet, just each individual pocket. So we will not open it. We're going to have an auction. You can bid on each individual pocket. Then after the auction, you'll be able to open it to see what you won. I will say, I think one of them is solely Metallica ticket stubs. So
Surprise.
Either bid up or do not bid on that one, depending on what you're looking for here. Well, guys,
Metallica.
Every pocket is just Metallica. Joey stole his Metallica wallet. Well, guys, today we brought Bob here to play a game that we're calling Fantasy Fortune. If I'm not mistaken, it is his number one favorite game that we play here on this show, right, Bob?
Oh no, this is like the hardest of all the games.
Well, we'll see if he's hustling our competitors here because he's going to be facing off against John, Luke, and Joey. Before we get into that, we got some people in the chat ready for today's show. Jane here with the full Eagle scream in the chat this morning.
Nice.
Craig stopping by with some historian facts about our guest Bob today, saying today's guest is making his 7th FYF appearance, 3-3 in games so far, including 1-1 in Fortune. He also has the Eagle scream of an angel.
I do. It's true.
You've been told that before. We got Victor in the chat. It's Eagle screams all around. What's up, Victor? Welcome in. Glad to have you here. And Victor saying, I swear if Aiden O'Connell becomes the next big thing in the NFL, then you guys are the reason why. Smash that like button. Bob, you think it's happening? Is Aiden O'Connell becoming the next big thing in the NFL?
I think right after Clayton Tune, right? I mean, it's like 6 of one, half dozen of the other. I'm trying to decide. Clayton Tune seems to run really well, so I don't know.
But not holding your breath. But it's fun to get excited about these potential quarterbacks coming in, right? We got Herms in here stopping by saying, what is up, my dudes? What's up, Herms? Thanks for coming in. Welcome. And he wants to let everyone know ahead of time, any Warren greater than Najee takes on the program will result in his early exit. So,
I mean, more explosive. Is that greater? I don't know.
It's a pretty good run.
And we just lost Herms.
And there goes Herms.
I love
We got Scampers in the chat saying, good afternoon,
Scampers.
FYF and Bob. What's up, Scampers? Welcome in, everyone. One Nation Underground saying, what up? Well, what up to you as well?
What up, One Nation?
We got Dame stopping by with the hello. Hello, everybody. Love these faces. One of our favorite Canadians in the chat, Toronto Dick. He's one of your favorite Canadians, too.
That's true. That's true. He is.
And Grim fan stopping by, stating facts, saying Bob is a legend. What's up, Grim?
Facts.
We got Dave in here excited about the Eagle screams and Andrea saying, hi, Bob.
Hey,
what's up, Andrea? Well, we got a whole squad in here ready for today's game. Before we get into it, though, we did have a question from Grim Fan. Usually Grim Fan comes in with the very high-level meta NFL questions, but this one is a little more specific to his leagues. Grim Fan wants to know our thoughts on him dropping Rashad Bateman and picking up Rondale Moore. Bob, so when we're looking at these two players for this upcoming season, is there one you would prefer to have on your roster?
I prefer out of Bateman. He has a quarterback. He has first-round draft capital. He has a tenderfoot. I get it. And he also has competition in the form of Zay Flowers and Odell Beckham. And not to mention Mark Andrews, who is probably the primary competition for all of them. But still, we haven't seen what Rashad Bateman can be yet. But we know what the Ravens think of him, given the draft capital invested. I feel like Rondale Moore is still kind of a little bit of a gadget piece, in all due respect to Rondale Moore. And also the quarterback situation, not ideal. I'm not trying to trying not to shy away from less than ideal quarterback situations, but that's for good players.
Joey, are you in agreement here with Bob on preferring Rashad Bateman over Rondale Moore?
100%. I don't know how many screen passes I can handle. Rondale Moore gives me plenty of them, but I need a little bit more out of a wide receiver. So I'd rather have Bateman.
It feels a little bit like this is maybe the wrong wide receiver on the Cardinals to be comparing Rashad Bateman to. I would prefer Marquise Brown over Rashad Bateman, but it does feel maybe like Bateman is closer to Marquise Brown whenever we're talking about comparing receivers on the team than he is to Rondale Moore, who I'm not sure of Moore's role in that offense. We saw success from him in stretches last year, but there's also multiple little fast guys on that offense that they phased throughout the season.
I felt like they misfired on Andy Isabella, and then they tried again, and they might have misfired again.
You got to watch out for Dortch back there.
There he is.
I was waiting for it.
You got to watch out for Dortch. I was waiting for JL to jump in with the Dortch. We got Albert stopping by in the chat. What's up, Albert? Welcome. And Herm says, there was one rule, guys. Yeah, well, you don't give Bob Harris a rule and then expect him not to break it. That being said, I'm about to give Bob Harris a lot of rules. We're about to get into our game here. Before I do that, a couple reminders. First and foremost, if you're not already following our guest, Bob, you need to fix that right now. You can find him on Twitter at Football Diehard, and you are truly missing out every second that you're not following him. After you do that, come on back over here to our YouTube channel at Front Yard Fantasy. We're on the Better Sports Network YouTube. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It's the easiest way to make sure you're not missing any of our shows live every day at 3 p.m. Eastern time. And one more reminder for you guys before we get in there. Right now at fantasyalarm.com, you can start your free 7-day trial of their All-Pro subscription. So get in there right now. Check out all the goodies that come along with that. 7 days free. Why not go ahead and try it at fantasyalarm.com. With that being said, you guys ready for the rules?
Yeah.
No.
Well, too bad, Joey.
I always say yes. I want to say no one time.
The game we are playing today is Fantasy Fortune. And if you have ever played or ever watched the TV show Wheel of Fortune, this is going to look quite familiar to you. Except instead of spinning a wheel, contestants are going to be answering 50-50 questions in order to guess letters that they think appear in the puzzle on the board. The questions are all going to be NFL or fantasy related. If you get that question right, you're going to get to guess a consonant, which will then be worth $500 for each instance of it that shows up. Now, you can do this up to 3 times in a row. That is, answer a question, get a letter. If at any point you miss either of those things, your turn is immediately over. And if you get 3 in a row right, you're going to bank all of that money that you've earned in that round so far, but your turn will also be over after you're given 5 seconds to try and solve the puzzle. Now, during your turn, there are 2 other actions that you can take at any time before I've started asking you a question. You can choose to buy a vowel as long as you have a minimum of $500 in your round bank. Those will cost $100 per instance they show up to a max of $500. Or you can just solve the puzzle if you think you know it. If you solve it, that round is automatically over. You will bank all of the money you have in your round bank or $1,000, whichever one is higher, and we will move on to the next puzzle. Whoever has the most money after we run out of puzzles or run out of time is our Fantasy Fortune champion for today. Bob going for the illustrious winning record in a game that is quite difficult to accomplish because of there being more than 2 competitors. Bob, you ready?
I was wondering if you're going to go over the rules. All I heard was, I was like watching Peanuts or something. And you were the teacher.
That's exactly what I said. You're probably more prepared than these other 2 here. I'm going to go ahead and pull up this game board. We're going to get in there. John Luke, you feeling a win coming today?
Nope. Something else. Something else.
All right. Well, our order for today's game, once we go through the first puzzle, will be Bob, followed by JL, followed by Joey. But with that being said, to determine who is going to go first overall, we are going to do a toss-up puzzle. How this first puzzle is going to work is a little bit differently from all of the rules I just described. I'm just going to put a player up on the board. If you think you know the player's name as I slowly reveal letters, you're going to say your own name. Buzz in, get it right. You're going to earn $500, and you'll get to start in the next official round. You guys ready?
Yep.
Herm's in here with the ever-important announcement. The human Dortch was denied a bank loan.
Oh. The human Dortch.
Also, Scott Fish stopping by with, I'm in 10 minutes late.
Well,
All right. I'm going to go ahead and start revealing letters. Buzz in with your name whenever you think you know who this is.
Joey.
Okay, Joey, who is this?
Brandon Cooks.
Yep.
Joey, this is Brandon Cooks. That's going to earn you $500 into your round bank.
Thank you.
And there's two things we need to discuss with Brandon Cooks.
Yes.
One of them very applicable to what we usually discuss. And the other one is that he took two of his teammates up in a private jet before practice the other day as the pilot. How is that?
Crazy.
They should have. I don't care if he's been flying planes for 40 years. You can't put 3 Dallas Cowboys on one plane flying around the city.
Did you see the pictures?
No, I did
Micah
not. I saw
Parsons,
that
he
headline
looked
and
really-
checked that it
he
wasn't
looked-
the Onion.
Yeah, no, he looked really like relaxed. Stephon Gilmore did not look relaxed at all. He's like, I don't want to be up here.
Outside of Brandon Cooks apparently being a certified pilot who's flying his teammates around, I do feel like the wide receiver situation here in Dallas after CeeDee Lamb is maybe a little bit ambiguous when it comes to where the fantasy value is. Joey, I'll throw this to you first since you got it right. How are you viewing Brandon Cooks and maybe the non-CeeDee Lamb receiving options here in Dallas this year?
Yeah, I think it actually kind of works out for everyone. I don't think Brandon Cooks is going to need to be dependent on as the wide receiver one with CeeDee Lamb being there. And I think we're actually going to see Michael Gallup kind of spread his wings a little bit and not have to be dependent on as the second option in the Dallas receiving game. So I kind of like it for everyone. My only fear is with Dak Prescott of if they're going to run the ball a lot more. How much is he going to get the ball to these wide receivers? So I like Cooks as a wide receiver too. If I can get him as a flex, I'm a little happier. Gallup, same thing. More of like a wide receiver 3 flex with Gallup. But I like the options. But yeah.
Bob, are you feeling similarly to Joey here? Do you think there's value in these secondary receiving options in Dallas?
I feel the Cooks there is just because, I mean, the history is great with him. Never has a player who has been so productive, been so readily moved from places. He's been really productive. And it doesn't seem like, it's like any issues with him. It just, other teams value him. I think he's going to be a good play. I prefer him as a wide receiver 3. I think I've been getting him there a lot. And I don't have a lot of Michael Gallup. I don't want to go that deep. And Jalen Tolbert apparently is the best thing since sliced bread. So I know I'm not worried about that. It's great that he's gaining confidence, but I do think if you're digging into that Dallas receiving core, the top 3 are limited to those 3, including Gallup.
Jail, are you getting in that airplane? You're standing by. They're loading up. You just happen to be there. Brandon Cooks is flying. Stephon Gilmore, Micah Parsons in the back. Are you jumping in?
Depends where we're going, but probably yes.
It's just around. You're going to land in the same spot you took off.
If it's just for fun flight, 100%. If we're going somewhere, 100%.
He probably needed to get his
I'm
pilot license because he goes to so many teams. It's just like easier to commute. Like I got to go from one place to the next.
Why drive and
That was
stuff
good, Bob.
back and forth?
Load up his apartment into the back of the plane and head on down to the new home. All right. Well, Joey, you're going to earn $500 for that. Take an early lead, and you will get to go first in our next puzzle. Puzzle number 2
I'm going to
is
stall to win the
same
game.
team first names. So this is 4 first names of players that are all on the same NFL team. Joey, would you like a question, or would you like to solve this puzzle?
Question.
Okay, we're going to start with some PPR fantasy points questions for today's game. All my questions about fantasy points will be PPR. Joey, what I want to know is who had more PPR fantasy points last season? Who had more PPR fantasy points last season? Was it Garrett Wilson or was it Devonta Smith?
Devonta Smith.
Devonta Smith is correct. Which letter would you like?
R.
R.
That was tough, though.
There are 4 R's in this puzzle. Going to earn you $2,000. That is a hot start, Joey.
Thank you.
What would you like to do now? Would you like to buy a vowel? Would you like another question, or would you like to solve?
I like another question, please.
Okay, who had more PPR fantasy points last season? Who had more PPR fantasy points last season? Was it Samaje Perine or was it Raheem Mostert?
Raheem Mostert.
Raheem Mostert is correct, Joey. Which letter would you like?
S.
S. There is 1 S in this puzzle. Going to add an additional 500. This is your last opportunity to buy vowels this turn if you would like to do so, or we can move on to your third and final question of this round.
I would like another question.
Okay. PPR fantasy points. Who had more PPR fantasy points last season? Who had more PPR fantasy points last season? Was it Alvin Kamara or was it David Montgomery?
So PPR fantasy points, Alvin Kamara or David Montgomery? I'm going to go Kamara.
And Kamara is correct, Joey. I thought that one was tricky. Which letter
It
would
was.
you like?
I'll take an N for Nancy.
And for Nancy, there are 3 N's in this puzzle, racking up money. You're going to bank this, and you got 5 seconds to solve.
Peter, Paul, and Mary.
So close, but none of those names are correct. Bob, that means we're going to move on to you. Joey is banking all of that money right there. It is your turn. Would you like a question, or would you like to solve this puzzle?
I would like a question.
Okay. And this is a reminder to our contestants to make sure you got the screen full screen to the chat closed. And a reminder to our chat to play along with us. Here's your question. Who had more PPR fantasy points last season? Who had more PPR fantasy points last season? Was it Michael Pittman or was it Gabe Davis?
It was Michael Pittman.
It was Michael Pittman. Which letter would you like?
T.
T. There's 1 T in this puzzle. Going to add 500. You can purchase a vowel if you would like to do so. You can take a question or you can solve.
God, I think I have it,
Okay.
but I might want more money.
It's always
We
this
all.
struggle.
Don't we all?
I'm going to go ahead and solve it.
Okay. Say it as it appears on the screen.
Aaron, Romeo, Christian, Jordan. These are Packers.
Bob, those are the 4 names. It is Jordan, Romeo, Christian, Aaron. I almost didn't give it to you because the order was wrong, but that is okay because the names don't even fit in the wrong spots. Bob, you're going to earn $1,000.
I appreciate your
for
kindness.
earning that. How'd you say
Just
the
went
different last name?
From
you
the
wouldn't have
bottom
gotten
up. That's all. Yeah.
it? Aaron,
Bob's
Christian,
No, I went from the top
Romeo,
down, but
Yeah, if you switch the
Jordan.
middle too.
I don't know why. Whenever I look at this, the names just. I think Romeo throws me off in the middle of a list of football player names. It seems very Shakespearean, just mixed in with like Jordan, Aaron, and Romeo. Like it's so romantic. Bob, whenever we're looking at this Packers offense, Jordan Love stepping up under center. The wide receivers are led by 2 second-year guys in Christian Watson and Romeo Dobbs. Do you think there is high-level fantasy production to be had? Is there a wide receiver 1 potentially sitting on this offense, or is it going to be a runs through Aaron Jones kind of thing?
I felt like, going there. The recent point seemed to be that like Christian Watson was going way too high, and that Romeo Doubs was going at the just right price. And now I'm starting to think, just look. I kept saying this all off season long, mostly. As soon as Aaron Rodgers left the Packers, we don't know what Jordan Love is. The Packers probably have a pretty good idea, even if they're not saying they are. You don't let a 4-time MVP kick his way out the door without a little more of a fight. And granted, I mean, it was time for him to go, but if you didn't have a guy that you thought could play quarterback, it would be like totally malpractice in the NFL to go into a season without a quarterback or without a plan at quarterback. I think they've known all along they have kind of what they wanted. And based on that, I've been a little more enthusiastic maybe about him, buying him as a cheap piece. But Christian Watson is a superior. The whole old cliche, there's 2 things you can't coach: size and speed. He has more of both of those than most guys at his position. I think he's worth the flyer at price.
I'm trying not to hold just the absolute catastrophe that was Christian Watson on my bench multiple weeks in a row last year against him, because each week I thought, no, he won't have 2 touchdowns again this week. And I did it like 3 weeks in a row. Just let him sit there. John Luke, whenever you look at this situation, there's a lot of uncertainty. Are you feeling similar to Bob whenever it comes to how you assess it and how much you're willing to take on?
Yeah, I don't recall off the top of my head where Christian Watson is going in redraft drafts, but for the price for Christian Watson, I'd be willing to draft him. The other players, Romeo Dobbs and Aaron Jones, not so much. I think I haven't gotten either of those guys in a single draft, and I think it does come down to the price just being too high. If it's going to happen in this offense, there's already so much risk around the entire situation. I want to take the best bets, and that's it.
So on Sleeper PPR ADP right now, the 2 wide receivers before Christian Watson are Jerry Jeudy and Drake London. The 2 right after are Chris Godwin and Brandon Ayuk.
I think that's right. Maybe a little higher than where he should be, but I think
maybe a little rich.
I think right there is right.
The chat was all. Oh, go ahead, Bob.
You're playing the upside there with him, right? I mean,
Yes.
He's more like a guy that you would maybe take as your second wide receiver if you have a super solid wide receiver 1 and you want to take a little bit of a swing. He's that guy.
I'm with you, Bob.
The chat was on this one. Albert came in early with Jordan. Craig got Jordan, Christian, Aaron, and then Victor coming in with Romeo as well. And Mr. Scamper is so close with Carson, Ricky, Christopher, and Gary. What up, Gary? We got Romeo from Albert and pieced it all together. Nice job, everybody in the chat. Killing that one.
Well done.
Also, I saw Scott Fish stop by and said, Bob, I'm so excited to tell Ian our secret, but not until next year. When is the best time to reach out again?
I already have you locked into my documents, Scott, but reach out anytime early next year. But it's locked in. It's done.
Done
Deal. I'll reach out to you, sir, but you can reach out to me.
I think we just witnessed a crime.
You might have. It was definitely some enterprise going on.
If this video is not on YouTube tomorrow, then you know why.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to move into our next puzzle. Bob, you solved that one, earning $1,000. Puzzle number 3. And this is an NFL player song mashup submitted by someone in the chat. Shout out Craig Reith for submitting this puzzle to us for you contestants today. So, Craig, that means you can't play along because you know the answer to this one. Everyone else play along in the chat, and contestants, make sure you got the chat closed. JL, you're going first in this one because Bob got that last one right. Would you like a question? Would you like to solve, or would you like to quit and go home?
I would like to quit and go home, please.
Well, too bad. You're
already home.
Question. Joe, what I want to know is, according to Sleeper PPR ADP, actually, you haven't had any fantasy points questions yet. We're not switching it up yet. You're not getting away from that. JL, who had more PPR fantasy points last season? Who had more PPR fantasy points last season? Was it Amari Cooper, or was it Cooper Kupp?
As I've been reminded time and time again on this show by my lovely co-hosts, Amari Cooper was a top 10 wide receiver, I think. I don't listen to them that much.
You listened just enough, JL. Amari Cooper was a top 10 wide receiver, and that is the correct answer. Which letter would you like?
Let's go with an R.
R. Holy moly, 6 R's. JL, that's going to put $3,000 in your round bank. Would you like to buy a vowel? Would you like another question, or would you like to solve?
I'll take another question.
Okay. My question for you is, who had more PPR fantasy points last season? Who had more PPR fantasy points last season? Was it Kenneth Walker III, or was it Aaron Jones?
Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones is correct. Which letter would you like?
N.
N. There are 2 N's in this puzzle. Going to add another grand. Your options remain the same. Buy a vowel, solve, or move on to your third and final question. This is your last opportunity to buy a vowel this turn, though.
I will take another question.
Another question. Okay, my question for you, Jail, is who had more PPR fantasy points last season? Who had more PPR fantasy points last season? Was it Nick Chubb, or was it Jamal Williams?
Jamal Williams.
I'm sorry, John Luke. It was Nick Chubb with more PPR fantasy points, which means we're going to move on to Joey. Joey, would you like to solve? Would you like a question? That's it.
I'd like a question.
Okay. My question for you, Joey. Now we're going to switch over to some Sleeper PPR ADP questions. Which of these players is currently being drafted earlier? Which of these players is currently being drafted earlier? Is it Michael Pittman, or is it Deebo Samuel?
Deebo Samuel.
Deebo Samuel is correct. Which letter would you like, Joey?
T.
T. 2 T's in this puzzle are going to put $1,000 in your round bank. Would you like a question? Would you like to solve?
I'd like to solve. I'd like to solve.
Okay, Joey, say it exactly as it appears.
Hunter Renfrow, row your boat.
This is Hunter Renfrow, row your boat, Joey. That's going to earn you that $1,000 into your round bank. And I wanted to talk a little bit about Hunter Renfrow, only because I'm in an 18-team league and I just drafted him. Just kidding. It's because he had a top 10 wide receiver season a couple years ago. Last year, obviously, had some injury concerns. The landscape around him changed. But now Darren Waller's gone from that offense. Bob, is there any fantasy hope for Hunter Renfrow this season in that slot role, even with Jacoby Myers in town?
I'd like to talk about Jalen Waddle being better than Najee Harris. No, I've talked to a couple beat writers and kind of thrown out that same kind of notion, and they were kind of cool on it. You know, they are sure. In fact, one of them thought maybe we see Hunter Renfrow moved at some point this season. So like I do think in that deep of a league, you could probably do worse than throwing a dart at a guy that has had that previous production. But I think I'm not betting on it.
Jail, are you buying the reports or opinions coming out of that camp that maybe Jakobi Meyers will be lined up more on the perimeter than he was in New England? We didn't really see him act as a perimeter wide receiver there, which would open up slot work for a guy like Hunter Renfrow.
I can see it. He's a pretty big wide receiver, and he was decent in his time in New England. I'm not too interested in Jakobi Meyers fantasy wise. I think that while I think he's talented and he's a big player, I don't think he'll be able to do it consistently there in Las Vegas.
It does feel like a change of scenery is a net negative for a player that seemed like he found a role in a system that worked well for him. Joey, do you have any optimism for these Raiders receivers in this offense? Renfrow,
Nope.
Myers, or else?
Nope.
Simple and to the point. Joey's drafted no Raiders wide receivers. Well, the chat was on this one. Dustin came in early with Hunter Renfrow.
Wow.
Row your boat.
Your
Except he said
boar.
row your boar.
No, thank you.
That's a different version. That's what they sing when you grow up in the woods. Row, row, row
Not
your
near
boar.
water. Gently down the forest.
And they're celebrating Dustin down here. And Victor tried to get the answer ahead of time, saying, Craig, tell me. No one else will know. Good attempt, Victor. I appreciate it. All right, Joey, you got that one right, which means we are going to move on to our next puzzle, puzzle number 4. And this is a new category. This is a Russell Wilson quote. This is something Russell Wilson has said and or written. Direct words, either from an article, a tweet, or something he said out loud in an interview. Joey, since you got that one right, Bob, you are going to go first in this round. Would you like a question or would you like to solve this puzzle?
I'd love to solve this puzzle, but I should probably do a question instead.
All right. My question for you is who is currently being drafted earlier, according to Sleeper PPR ADP? Who is currently being drafted earlier? Is it Dalvin Cook or is it Dameon Pierce?
It's Dameon Pierce.
It is Dameon Pierce. Which letter would you like, Bob?
I would like the letter R.
R. Oh my.
Wow.
After Joey got 5 R's, JL got 6 R's.
I used them all up.
Bob guesses R and gets not a single R.
Wow.
Russell Wilson hates the letter R.
I feel like Herms is behind this after my gratuitous shot at his guy.
He did come in with the triggered as soon as you said the Warren versus Harris thing. This is Herms controlling the letters from beyond the screen. JL, that means we're on to you. Would you like a question or would you like to solve this puzzle?
Question.
Okay. My question for you is who is currently being drafted earlier according to Sleeper PPR ADP? Is it Rachaad White or is it Samaje Perine?
Perine.
I'm sorry, JL. It is Rachaad White currently going at pick 75 about, and Perine is down at 115, which means Joey has gotten in your ear a little bit too much about Perine, I think.
It's very
I got a
very
little
kind
too
of
much
Joey.
P Ryan in his ear. Sounds like P.
Well, Joey, it's your turn. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. My question for you is who's currently being drafted earlier according to Sleeper PPR ADP? Who's currently being drafted earlier? Is it Antonio Gibson or is it James Conner?
James Conner.
James Conner is correct, Joey. Which letter would you like?
How many spots?
James Conner is currently going around 67 and Antonio Gibson is at 94. So about 30 spots.
So about 30 spots. Okay. I'll take a T.
A T. There are 4 T's in this puzzle, Joey.
I'll take another question, please, Bob.
Okay. PPR ADP, Joey, who is currently being drafted earlier? Who's currently being drafted earlier in PPR ADP? Is it Calvin Ridley or is it Kyle Pitts?
Oh, you're a jerk. I'm still going to go Ridley, though.
And you would still be correct. Nice
Yeah.
job, Joey. Which letter would you like?
S is in Sam.
S is in Sam. There are 4 S's as well. It's going to earn you an additional 2,000. This is your last opportunity to buy a vowel, Joey, or you can move on to your third and final question.
I'm going to move on to my third and final question.
Okay. Who is currently being drafted earlier according to Sleeper PPR ADP? Who is currently being drafted earlier according to Sleeper PPR ADP? Is it Anthony Richardson or is it AJ Dillon? This is 1 QB, sleeper, PPR, ADP.
1 QB, you said? I'm going to go AJ Dillon.
And you would be correct, Joey. Which letter would you like?
All right, I want to get this right.
You bank all this money if this letter's up.
I know. I'll go with an N.
An N. There are two N's in this puzzle. We're going to add another 1,000. Joey, you got 5 seconds to solve, or we will move on to Bob.
I don't know.
That is not correct. Joey, you're going to earn $5,000. And Bob, it is your turn. Would you like a question, or would you like to solve this puzzle?
I would like the question.
Okay, my question for you is, according to Sleeper PPR ADP, who is currently being drafted earlier, is it Chris Godwin or is it Jackson Smith and Jigba?
It's Godwin.
It is Godwin. Which letter would you like?
I would like a B.
A B. There are 2 B's.
Nice letter.
Going to earn you 1,000. What would you like to do now, Bob? Would you like another question? Would you like to buy a vowel, or would you like to solve?
I would like another question.
Okay. My question for you, we are going to move on to some rushing yards from last season now. Is which of these players had more rushing yards last year? Which of these players had more rushing yards last year? Was it Najee Harris or was it Joe Mixon?
It was Harris.
It was Harris with over 1,000 yards. Which letter would you like, Bob?
Hope you're happy with that, Herms. I'll take a D as in dog.
D as in dog.
Whoa.
And there's the money. 6 D's, Bob. Going to add $3,000 into your round bank.
That's a lot.
Not the first time he's been called 6D, Bob. Bob,
true.
Would you like your third question? Would you like to buy a vowel?
I'd like to buy a vowel.
Puzzle? Okay, which vowel would you like?
A.
An A. There are 3 A's in this puzzle, just going to cost you 300. Your options remain the same.
I think Joey knows.
No, I don't. I was thinking of dirty stuff in my head.
I'll take another question, please.
Okay, your third and final question, Bob. Get this one right and the letter, and you'll add all of this money to your score. What I want to know is who had more rushing yards last season? Who had more rushing yards last season? Was it Dalvin Cook or was it Austin Eckler?
It was Dalvin Cook.
It was Dalvin Cook with over 1,100 yards for the 4th season in a row. Which letter would you like, Bob? This is to bank all that money.
I'll try the M.
The M. There are no M's in this puzzle, Bob. I am so sorry, which means after 3 questions in a row, right, we are on to John Luke. JL. Bob must have pissed off the fortune gods.
It's better than pee riding in my ear.
It's
Like
Take a question.
I think none of the puzzle solving I'm doing is appropriate, and I need to think differently.
It is just very inappropriate, Bob, what you're doing to these puzzles.
It is.
John Luke, do something appropriate to this puzzle. You want a question?
Question.
Okay. Who had more rushing yards last season? Who had more rushing yards last season? Was it Travis Etienne or was it Ezekiel Elliott?
ETN.
Etienne is correct. Which letter would you like?
F.
F. There are 2 F's in this puzzle, going to add $1,000 to your round bank. John Luke, would you like to buy a vowel? Would you like another question or would you like to solve?
I'll buy an O.
An O. There are 2 O's in this puzzle. Going to subtract 200. Your options remain the same.
Take another question.
Okay. My question for you, Jail, is who had more rushing yards last season? Who had more rushing yards last season? Was it Leonard Fournette or was it Jeff Wilson Jr.?
Fournette.
I'm sorry, Jail. It was Jeff Wilson Jr. with 860 rushing yards, which means we are on to Joey. Joey, would you like to solve or would you like a question?
I can't buy vowels because I banked my money, right?
That is true.
I'll have to take a question then.
Okay. My question for you. We're going to move over to some receiving yards. Just who had more receiving yards
let's go back
last
to ADP.
season? Who had more receiving yards last season? Was it Amon-Ra St. Brown or was it Chris Godwin?
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
by a little over 100 yards. That is correct, Joey. Which letter would you like?
Oh, I don't know one of those yet. I'll go with an L.
An L. There are no L's in this puzzle, which means, Bob, we are on to you. Would you like a question? Would you like to solve, or would you like to buy a vowel?
I would like a question.
Okay. Who had more receiving yards last season? Was it DK Metcalf or was it Mike Williams?
Yes. DK
that
Metcalf.
Is correct. I'm just kidding. DK Metcalf is correct as well. Which letter would you like, Bob?
K.
K. There are 2 Ks in this puzzle. Going to add 1,000 to your round bank. Your options remain the same. You can buy a vowel, you can solve, or you can take another question.
Hell, man.
Did he say this?
No, he did not.
He said exactly what is written here.
Can't possibly have said this.
What's it going to be, Bob?
I'll buy a vowel.
Okay. Which vowel would you like?
I.
An I. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 I's in this puzzle. Going to subtract 400 from your score. You can choose to buy another vowel. You can choose to take a question, or you can choose to solve this puzzle.
I don't even know if I want to solve this puzzle. Like there might be laws against some of this. Yeah. I'll take a question, please.
Okay, my question for you, Bob, is who had more receiving yards last season? Was it Mark Andrews or was it T. Higgins?
It was T. Higgins.
It was T. Higgins. Which letter would you like?
Hell, I don't know.
Scamper said, "Say it, Bob."
I'm not saying it.
I'm not saying. I
No.
refuse.
No.
What's the letter going to be, Bob?
I mean, there's like only could be 1 or 2, and I don't know what the hell the 1 or 2 might be. C.
C.
It's not C.
There is no C in this puzzle, which means,
no
JL, we are on to you. JL, would you like to solve? Would you like to buy a vowel? Or would you like your question?
I ain't taking no question. I will solve.
Okay.
I have no qualm saying this. I used to beat up kids and bite kids and do stuff.
JL, Russell Wilson is directly
Wow.
quoted as saying, "I used to beat up kids and bite kids and do stuff." In reference to how he wasn't always Mr. Nice Guy. He, in fact, was a bully until he was 14 years old.
I think he's
Russ.
lying. I think he's totally lying. He didn't used to beat up kids
think
or
he
bite
got beat
them,
up.
and he
Oh,
might have
definitely
did
beat him
stuff.
up.
He might have did stuff.
You can tell he's lying by how vague he got quickly,
Right.
and how like he went from yeah, I used to bite people and do other stuff too.
Mean
Like a
stuff.
JL, you're gonna earn the $1,000 for solving that one. You think Russell Wilson's gonna do any beating up of other NFL teams this year, or is there gonna be more of what we saw last year?
I think he'll be fine. Russell Wilson, I just don't think he's good enough to transcend having no offensive system or leadership around him. I have nothing against Nathaniel Hackett. I just don't think he probably was ready to put together that NFL team or whatever else is going on with the organization, whoever's owning it. Sean Payton is a little more experienced. I expect him to come in and help Russ correct whatever needs to get corrected here.
Yeah. And the more you read about Nathaniel Hackett and the way the players reacted to him, the almost sadder it gets, because it truly does seem like maybe he will be ready, but he just wasn't ready. The players were still bought in, which you rarely see with a head coach failing that spectacularly. But he was doing something right to keep the players on his side through all of that.
It was so bad it has to get better. I felt like the same situation with the Giants last year, and it got better. It was more better than I expected, and maybe it will be in Denver as well.
The chat was on this one. Dustin came in, was the first one to get it. Said, "I think I kind of know this one," and then threw it all together. Nice job, Dustin. And One Nation Underground. That's a funny joke, but I'm not going to put it on the screen.
Ooh.
We are going to move on to our next puzzle here. JL, you solved that one, which means Joey, you are going first, and you have a commanding lead. And it is your favorite category, rhyme time.
No, that's not my favorite category.
It's your favorite category. This is Bob's favorite game, and
this is the best beatdown I've taken in a long time. I do appreciate it.
Joey paid me before the show started. Joey and everybody else, if you've never done this category, how it's going to work is these words are going to rhyme somewhere in there. It's probably going to be an NFL player's name rhyming with another word, something like playing clarinet with Jacoby Brissett, or a romantic weekend in France with Trey Lance. It'll fit in this board. It'll have an NFL player and something will rhyme. Joey, you're up first. Would you like a question? Would you like to solve?
I'd like a sleeper ADP question, please.
Okay. Well, Joey, my question for you is who had more receiving yards last season? Who had more receiving yards? Was it Deontay Johnson or was it Brandon Ayuk?
Brandon Ayuk.
Brandon Ayuk is correct. Closer than I thought it was, though. What letter would you like, Joey?
R.
R. 3 R's in every puzzle, except for the puzzle Bob guessed R on, has had multiple R's. Joey, would you like another question? Would you like to solve? Or would you like to buy a vowel?
I'd like to buy a vowel.
Okay. Which vowel?
O.
There are 3 O's in this puzzle. Going to subtract 300 down to 1,200.
That wasn't very fun. Why do you guys buy vowels all the time? I'm going to take questions, please. Or question.
Your question, Joey, is which player had more receiving yards last season? Which player had more receiving yards last season? Was it Evan Ingram or was it Drake London?
Evan Ingram.
I'm sorry, Joey. It was Drake London, which means Bob quit.
Damn,
I did not quit. My internet quit. And so I've quickly switched to my telephone's hotspot. So
smart man. Good for me.
Well, Bob, it is your turn in this puzzle. Are you ready for your question? Uh-oh. We might have lost him again.
He looks real cool, though, doesn't he?
Or yeah, he's gone.
Oh, man.
And I think we got him. Okay, Bob, it
keeps happening.
It is your turn. Are you ready for your next question?
Please, before I go away again.
Let's do it. Your question is, who had more receiving yards last season? Who had more receiving yards? Was it Zay Jones or was it Adam Thielen?
It was Adam Thielen.
I'm sorry, Bob. It was Zay Jones had more receiving yards than Adam Thielen last year.
I blame my interweb.
I blame your interweb as well. John Luke, would you like a question or would you like to solve?
Question.
Okay. Who had more receiving yards last year? Who had more receiving yards? Was it Marquise Brown or was it no, that was gross. Or was it Jacoby Myers?
Marquise Brown.
I'm sorry, Jail. It was Jacoby Myers who had more receiving yards, which means, Joey, we are back to you. Would you like a question or would you like to buy a vowel or would you like to solve?
I'd like to buy a vowel again. I'd like to buy an E.
An E. There is one E in this puzzle.
I didn't enjoy that as much, so I want to buy another vowel, please. I'd like to buy an I.
There are 2 I's in this puzzle. Your options remain the same.
I'd like to buy an A.
There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that is also all of the vowels. You perfectly left the one vowel that wasn't in the puzzle left, Joey. So now you can either take a question or you can solve. What would you like to do?
Question.
Okay. My question for you, Joey, is according to the FanDuel Sportsbook, which of these players has the better odds to throw the most passing touchdowns next season? So to throw the most passing touchdowns next season. Is it Kirk Cousins or is it Jared Goff?
Passing touchdowns, Kirk Cousins or Jared Goff.
And this is the odds, who has better odds to finish with the most.
Man, I'm going to go Cousins.
And you would be correct, Joey. Nice job sussing that one out. Cousins is correct at plus 1,100 to lead the league, and Jared Goff is at plus 2,000 to lead the league. Which letter would you like?
T.
T. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 T's in this puzzle, Joey. Going to add $3,000. Would you like another question? Would you like to solve?
I know.
Would you like to donate money and not get any vowels in return?
I want a question.
Okay. My question for you, Joey, is which of these players had more PPR fantasy points last season? Which of these players had more PPR fantasy points last season? Was it Chris Olave or was it Donovan Peoples-Jones?
Oh God, it has to be Olave.
It does, but it is quite
Good
close,
God.
Joey. Nice job on
That's
that
bad.
one. Which letter would you like?
I'm gonna go with an L.
An L. There are 2 L's in this puzzle. Going to add a grand. You can solve or you can move on to your final question.
What is that word? I don't know. So I'm gonna take another question, please.
Okay. My question for you, Joey, is who had more PPR fantasy points last season? Who had more PPR fantasy points last season? Was it Leonard Fournette or was it Mike Williams?
Leonard Fournette had a lot more points than I always remember, and I look and I'm like, oh, he had a lot of points. I'm gonna go Leonard Fournette.
Joey, you would be correct. It is Leonard Fournette. Which letter would you like? Get this right. You bank this money.
I'll take the S.
The S. There are 2 S's going to add a grand to your score. And Joey, you're going to bank all this, but you got 5 seconds to try to solve as well.
Filtering Sam Laporta for the last torta. I don't know.
That is not correct, which means we are on to Bob. Bob, you can take a question or you can solve. What would you like to do here?
I'll just solve it. It's fighting Sam Laporta for the last torta.
It is fighting Sam Laporta for the last torta. God, it was so good. You just had to get the last one. Bob, that's going to earn you $1,000 into your bank down here for solving that one.
I feel like that's like a pure win or something. It's not like great.
Take your wins, take your victories. Before the show, you said you never get the puzzles, and now you've solved 2 of the puzzles. Bob, what I want to know about from you is how hyped I'm allowed to get for a rookie tight end in Sam Laporta after the reports that have been coming out of training camp. I generally avoid them, but this is an offense that was high-powered, and it looks like with Jameson Williams missing time, he could maybe have a role early. Are you expecting anything out of this rookie tight end?
I feel like we do this a lot with rookie tight ends, and I feel like we are often disappointed a lot, and we probably will be again. But at the right price, I mean, him or Dalton Kincaid, I think either of them are reasonable flyers, given the offenses they play in, and especially in Detroit. No Jameson Williams for a while. There'll be some vacated targets, so yeah, just don't overdo it, right? I mean, I'd still. This is not going to be like a popular take here, probably, but I mean, Tyler Higbee's still going to get 100 targets, and in the Rams offense, right? So, I mean, I don't know. I'd rather play the volume.
Well, any Tyler Higbee fans, I would not go look at the Front Yard Fantasy Declassified Draft Guide because we did nothing but absolutely body him in there. Okay. But if you're a fan of Tyler Higbee getting bodied, you should check it out. You can find it now at frontyardfantasy.com. Go ahead and get that order in. And then you might have to scroll a minute before you get to Tyler Higbee's name in that list, though. Sam Laporta's is a little bit higher up there.
We intentionally put it like a mile down, all the way at the bottom.
Like on Excel, whenever you get bored at work and you just keep on scrolling and scrolling and see how big of a spreadsheet you can make.
We got it pretty far.
Something like that. We got Herms in here said, you mean the good Camp Raportas for Sam Laporta?
Oh, that might have been better.
Pretty good in there. Well, guys,
what's a torta?
A delicious sandwich from most of them from Mexico. You should have a torta if you've never had one.
Okay. Maybe I will.
There's all different kinds as well. It's really just a sandwich.
Okay. Never had one before.
We're going to load up our next puzzle here. Puzzle number 7. And this is another new category. This category is defunct franchises. So this will be a no longer present pro football franchise that used to exist. I was inspired by our time at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, looking at that giant list of teams that have existed. I thought I'd throw one of them into a puzzle here. This will be our last puzzle. Bob, you solved that one, which means John Luke, you are up first.
Question.
Okay. Have we done this category before? Is that why you're smirking at me?
No. Just smirking because I'm pretty.
You are pretty, and now I'm nervous. John Luke, who had more PPR fantasy points last year? Was it Jerick McKinnon or was it Terry McLaurin?
McKinnon.
I'm sorry, JL. It was the other Mick. It was McLaurin, which means, Joey, we are on to you. Would you like a question or would you like to solve this puzzle?
I think I can solve it, but I want to try to get more money because I want to try to set a record.
You already did. The record has been set, Joey.
Did I?
You can push it further. Yeah, we have an official in the chat from Craig. This is a new Fantasy Fortune record on today's show.
Can I lose money?
If you're bad.
Ooh,
if you're naughty, I'll take money away.
All right, yeah, question.
Okay, who had more PPR fantasy points last year? Who had more PPR fantasy points last year? Was it Tyler Algier or was it DeAndre Swift?
Tyler Algier.
I'm sorry, Joey. It was DeAndre Swift, which means, Bob, we are on to you. Are you ready for your next question?
I am ready for my next question.
Who had more PPR fantasy points last year? Was it Jalen Waddle or was it George Kittle?
It was Jalen Waddle.
It was Jalen Waddle. Which letter would you like?
I would like the letter D.
D. There is one D in this puzzle. Going to add 500 to your round score. What would you like to do next? Would you like to buy a vowel? Would you like another question or would you like to solve?
I would like another question, please.
Okay, my question for you. We're going to move back over to some PPR ADP questions. Who is being drafted earlier according to PPR ADP on Sleeper? Is it Christian Kirk or is it Treylon Burks?
It's Christian Kirk.
It is Christian Kirk. Which letter would you like, Bob?
I would like a T.
A T. There are no T's in this puzzle. You've pissed off the letter gods. T is the new R, and JL is the new Bob because it's your turn. Joe, would you like a question?
He's already been guessed. I guess I got to guess R. I'll take a question.
Okay, my question for you is who's currently being drafted earlier according to Sleeper PPR ADP? Is it Jahmyr Gibbs or is it Cam Akers?
Jahmyr Gibbs.
Jahmyr Gibbs is correct. Which letter would you like?
C.
C. There are no C's in this puzzle either, which means, Joey, we are on to you. Would you like a question or would you like to solve?
I don't know what this puzzle is now. Even the D worked. That's what she said. I would take a question, please.
Okay, Joey, who is currently being drafted earlier according to Sleeper PPR ADP? Is it AJ Dillon or is it Alexander Madison?
Who's being taken later?
Earlier.
Madison.
Madison is correct, Joey. Which letter would you like?
R.
There is one R in this puzzle. Going to add 500 to your round bank. Would you like to buy a vowel? No, would you like another question or would you like to solve?
I'm going to question.
Okay. My question for you is who is getting drafted earlier according to Sleeper PPR ADP? Who is getting drafted earlier? Is it James Cook or is it Damian Harris?
James Cook.
James Cook is correct. Which letter would you like, Joey?
I'm going to go with an N.
An N. There are no N's in this puzzle, which means, Bob, we are back to you. Question, buy a vowel or solve?
I will take a question, please, sir.
Okay, who is getting drafted earlier according to Sleeper PPR ADP? Is it Miles Sanders or is it Tony Pollard?
It is Tony Pollard. And I'm just doing the questions because it's way easier doing them than it is the puzzles.
Okay. Which letter would you like, Bob? The hard part.
B for Bob.
B for Bob. And there is a B in this puzzle. Going to add
for Bob
500 to your round score. Sorry, we spelled Bob wrong on the board right there.
Okay.
Would you like another question? Or
would
you
like
to
another
solve this
question,
puzzle?
please.
Okay. My question for you, who's getting drafted earlier according to Sleeper PPR ADP? Is it Keenan Allen or is it Mike Williams?
It is Keenan Allen.
It is Keenan Allen. Which letter would you like?
S.
S. There is one S in this puzzle. Going to add 500. Bob, you can choose to buy a vowel here. It will be your last chance to do so this turn, or we can go on to your third and final question.
Got it.
Third, I know what the last word is. I don't know where it is. Give me a question.
Okay, who is getting drafted earlier according to Sleeper PPR ADP? Is it DJ Moore or is it Garrett Wilson?
It is Garrett Wilson.
It is Garrett Wilson. Which letter would you like?
I would like another question, please. I'm doing really well with questions. M.
M. There is one M in this puzzle, Bob. Going to add 500. You've got 5 seconds to solve, but you will bank all of this money.
Good job, Bob.
I don't know what the place is.
You know what's there, but he doesn't know where there
Damn it.
is. John Luke, it is your turn. Would you like a question or would you like to solve this puzzle?
Oh!
No! The post 5-second clarity.
Damn it.
It's always right after.
Yes.
We'll take a question.
Okay. My question for you, Jail, is who is getting drafted earlier according to Sleeper PPR ADP? Who is getting drafted earlier? Is it Devonta Smith or is it Brandon Ayuk?
Devontae Smith.
Devontae Smith is correct. Which letter would you like?
Let's go with an N.
And which letter?
Nope, it's not there. Thought that was in there. Let's go with a. Wow, that really threw. I thought it was Minnesota for sure. Oh, let's go with an L.
L. There is one L in this puzzle, Jail. Going to add 500 to your round bank. You can choose to buy a vowel, take another question, or solve.
I'll buy an O.
An O. There are no O's in this puzzle. Oh.
No.
Oh. Hey, Joey, it's your turn.
We need to end the show. Okay, I'll solve.
do
Milwaukee
it.
Badgers.
Joey, this is the Milwaukee Badgers, the now defunct franchise, going to add an additional a full 1,000 to your score.
Yeah.
Because you saw bringing you up to 16,900. Bob in second place with 4,000. JL in third place with $1,000. And that is our game. Congratulations, Joey. New record. And Bob,
Thank you.
thank you so much for taking the time to come and play our game with us today, my friend.
Bob.
Thanks for inviting me. I had a wonderful time. I want a game with just questions. Did they call that Jeopardy?
I think they call that Jeopardy. Next time we'll play Fantasy Fortune, no puzzles.
The
Yeah.
Just
Jeopardy
questions.
version of Fantasy Fortune with no Jeopardy involved.
No
Just
wheel, no
questions.
puzzles.
We'll just have
questions.
Joey off to the side solving puzzles the entire time while you and JL answer trivia back and forth.
Just
And I think that'll be beautiful.
I did good on the trivia today.
I think
got-
it's fantastic.
yeah.
You're like the
Oh my
superstar
God.
that I wanted to be, and I'm just like
Well,
crushed now.
You keep working at it, Bob. You'll get
I'm
there.
trying.
Keep working at it.
I don't have. There's no quitting me. I'm telling you that.
Well, if you guys want to follow Bob's journey, make sure you follow him at Football Diehard on Twitter. Truly one of our favorite people in the space, has always been so kind and generous with his time towards us, and is just an unbelievable fantasy analyst as well. So make sure you follow him over there. That is going to be it for us today, though. We'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern time for some more fantasy football game show fun, just like we are every single day of the week that's not named Saturday or Sunday. Until then, though, we are out of here. We'll see you guys on another time.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks for sending me the answers, Craig.